الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد يقول الله عز وجل ويل للمطففين الذين إذا اكتالوا على الناس يستوفون وإذا كالوهم أو وزنوهم يخسرون ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in these verses that I'm sure many of us are familiar with, that woe to those who give short measure, who demand of other people full measure for themselves, but give less than they should when it is they who weigh or measure for others. Do these people not realize that they will be raised up on a mighty day, a day when everyone will stand before the Lord of mankind? And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes such people who are hypocritical. Individuals who put standards on themselves but have different standards for others. People who feel that they are above being criticized. People who feel that they are above being looked at in a negative light, but have every right to criticize and look down on others. And the reason for that is because of their own arrogance. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. And we find that in their dealings, they get angry at the smallest things. That in their dealings, they have little tolerance for the people that they deal with and the people that they do business with. They have no problem taking advantage of others, but get upset when people take advantage of them. And this double standard is one that is extremely dangerous. It's one that we should all be wary of in our own hearts. And it's very upsetting. It's very upsetting to see this in our own homes, to see this in our own places of business, to see this in our own masajid, to see it in our relief organizations. That the way we deal with and we speak to and we address others, we would hate if anyone spoke to us or addressed us in that same way. And this arrogance is that driving force, because we feel like we are above, and we feel like we're better, and we feel like we're deserving, and we have these expectations. But all of these things are very shaitani. All of these things are from the shaitan, there's no doubt about that. And what are some examples and how does this manifest? When we deal with our wives, when we deal with our children, when we deal with our coworkers, maybe even how I'm dealing with the institution or the place that I'm working at. But the hypocrisy in me accepting a salary and then going behind that institution's back and then cursing them and then putting them down. I have no problem in disagreeing. I think that's a normal part of the Muslim discourse. The idea for us is not to agree, the idea for us is to be unified. And if we understand what unity is and where it comes from, then we also understand disagreement is a healthy part of that community. But how is it that I can challenge and undermine and maybe even hate, and then with one hand I accept that salary or I accept that payment, and then with this mouth I curse that same hand? And it's amazing how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي, that the best of you is the one who is best to his wives. And the reason for that is many times we take our wives for granted. There are so many things that they do for us. There are so many small things that they take care of for us that we don't think about and that we don't realize. And instead of us being thankful, because we start raising our expectation bar so much higher, like, no, she should wash my clothes. No, she should iron them. No, she should cook for me. No, she should do this. The moment that one of these is removed, then the entire relationship is destroyed. And it's amazing how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, regardless of the animosity that others had for him, and regardless of how they spoke about him, and regardless about how they dealt with him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never burned his bridges. If there were certain levels of abuse that he could tolerate, he would tolerate it. When he was in Taif, they literally threw rocks at him. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam was walking away, he was bleeding. The angels came to him. And now he had been fed up with the people of Mecca who had kicked him out. He was fed up with the people of Taif. And the angels said to him, allow us to destroy Quraysh, we'll just crush them between the mountains. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said no. He said maybe there will be a generation that comes after them that brings good and that brings khair. So why do we burn our bridges? The reality is our ultimate dependence is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us time and time again, وَمَن يَتَّوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And whoever relies upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then He is enough for him. And part of that reliance is understanding the rights of others and how to deal with others, how to deal with other businesses, how to deal with other individuals, how to deal with other family members. And it's amazing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us, أَلَّا تَتْغَوْا فِي الْمِيزَانِ. Like, don't play with the scales. In those scales, you can take them literally. When you go and weigh something, make sure that that weight is proper and make sure that weight is appropriate. Make sure that whatever you're selling the right amount. And even He sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he always told the people who were selling things by weight, He was like, always add just a little bit. He said, because in that addition there's barakah. This is how He sallallahu alayhi wasallam wanted relationships to be formed. But we have to ask ourselves, are we pushing our finger onto those scales so that they're always in our favor? There's nothing wrong with us wanting things. If I want a nice house, or I want a nice job, or I want a nice family, or I want Jannah, right? These are all personal interest things that I want. I am allowed every single right to seek those things. The only time this becomes a problem is when I start oppressing others and I start doing it at the cost of others. So we have to ask ourselves, when we move, when we walk, are we walking with others or are we pushing them out of the way? Because the reality is, if we raise the waterline, if we raise the entire community, if I open a business and I start employing brothers and sisters in the community, everybody benefits. My business grows, and now people have a job. And people are coming and purchasing my product. But I have to be honest in my business. I have to be honest when I'm giving the shares and I'm giving those hours to those workers. I have to be honest in the products that I'm using and the products that I'm selling. And the customer needs to be honest in how they're making those purchases. And if they have a complaint, and they have every right to complain, is that complaint a truthful one? Or are they just trying to get a free meal? These are things that sometimes we overlook without realizing that this is a fundamental part of Islamic business practices. If I want to be a sound Muslim, if I want to be able to comfortably stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are all conditions that He sallallahu alayhi wasallam put forward. When he talked about, okay, this type of sale is not permissible, you're not allowed to do this type of sale, you will find in every single one of those sales, there's either some type of gharar, right? There's some type of cheating, or there's some type of jahala, right? There's something that's unknown that's taking place. There's an element there that's not there. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ بِالضَّمَانِ. He said that selling has to be guaranteed. When you sell an item, stand behind your item. Stand behind your product. And why? This is to gain trust. And many times when we do these things, and subhanAllah, it's amazing, that you have two nations that were ready to be destroyed for deeds. From them, as we had mentioned in the previous khutab, is Qawm Lut, Sodomites. They were destroyed. Not for other sins like we have for other nations. And the other one, Qawm Salih. Or Yunus, I'm sorry. That they were about to be destroyed. Why? Because they used to play with the mizan. They used to play with the scales. This is the effect and the danger of cheating people. This is the danger and effect of taking advantage of others. This is the danger and effect of hurting other individuals in society, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't specify here like, oh, it's okay to cheat non-Muslims, but you don't cheat Muslims. That's not how we operate. There are some people who do. There are some people who do that. But this is not how the Muslims are. When we are honest, we are trustworthy. We are honest and we are trustworthy with everyone. We don't have double standards. There's one standard, and that is the standard of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are we maintaining it? Are we doing the best that we can? Are we trying to empower and help others, or are we trying to take advantage of them? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد يقول الله عز وجل هو الذي رزقكم في الأرض. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this verse that He is the one that provides for you on this earth. He is the one that we need to rely on. So if I understand that my rizq is written, if I understand that my life is written, and if I understand that these two things are completely out of my control, and it doesn't matter how much I work, it doesn't matter how much I try, I will not add or subtract a minute from my life, and I will not add or subtract a dollar from my life. So why is it that we're willing to hurt others when I know that rizq and that wealth is going to come to me? Why is it that I'm willing to take advantage of others when I know that this rizq is going to come to me? And a lot of times all it is, ya ikhwan, is a matter of patience. And patience can manifest in different ways. Sometimes we feel patience is waiting. That's not always the case. Patience is also learning how to manage the situation that we're in. And I know some of us are in very difficult situations. And I know I mentioned in the Q&A before the khutbah talking about how there are people who are on state aid. I was one from them. There was a time where I had to rely on food stamps. There was a time where I needed government Medicaid. But what did I do? I worked. I tried to find a way out of it. I used it as a stepping stone. And it's not easy. I was there. I used to go to the food pantries. I used to have to open the bread and smell it before I took it out because I didn't know if it had fermented or not. I used to have to crack eggs into a separate bowl because I didn't know if the egg was bad or not. I was there. I know it. And I hate poverty. And inshallah, I never go back to it. And for those individuals who are facing that, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them. And for those who got out of it, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue giving them success. It sucks. I know. It's hard. It's difficult. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us. He says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. That whoever has God consciousness, whoever is aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a way for him, and He will provide for him in ways that he would never have imagined. And that's what patience is. And even when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us and He gives us, am I budgeting? The amount of money that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me, am I using it in the right way? Many of us complain about things getting expensive, and I agree, they are. It's becoming hard. It's very difficult. Have we changed the way that we're purchasing, the way that we're buying, and how we're shopping? Have we adjusted or no? We have to ask ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us different tools. He's given us different means. SubhanAllah, now, there are so many apps available for me to compare prices. There are so many websites for me to go to look for what is the better product and what is the cheaper product. And saving money doesn't always mean buying cheaper. That doesn't always mean that. Because does it make sense for me to buy a tool 6 times or buy it 1 time? And I'd also mentioned about there are some good things that are here. There are some good cultural aspects that are here. And one of the things I learned was buy once, cry once. That yeah, it cost me a lot of money up front, but I'll never have to buy that tool again. I'll never have to buy that item again. Or I won't have to worry about the quality of this item. So it's not always going cheaper. Understanding what finances are, understanding how to deal with our money, understanding that this rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an amana, it is a trust. And Allah has given me this much because He knows I know how to deal with it and I can manage it. And if I can't, subhanAllah, I live in a space and I live in a time. I remember some of the brothers from Azad were here. And they were giving a talk. And they said minimum investment was like $500,000 or something. It was like some number that was astronomical for me. And then he said, but you can make an appointment with me and I can help you with whatever money you have. And I can help you invest it. SubhanAllah. The generosity that we find with individuals in this community and in the Muslim community at large, you don't find this with other spaces and places. That we're so willing to help each other, we're so willing to bring up the waterline, so willing to uplift the community. But how many of us are taking advantage of these resources? That we have people who are there, who are willing to help. He's like, listen, you have $500, you have $1,000, you have $10. I'll help you get started. But we have to take advantage of them. I cannot keep doing the same thing expecting different results. Allah has given me too many tools. He's given me so many choices. And walillah alhamd, we live in a space, in a place that I know for sure, my parents included, that their lifestyles completely shifted the moment they came. Completely shifted. And I know many of us can say the same. That after coming here, a lot of doors open for us that weren't available for us in where we came from. How thankful are we? And if we are thankful, how much are we contributing? Or have we come here just to be parasites and just to take? And it's amazing that the Muslim, that every space and place he goes, he contributes to that space, he contributes to that place, he becomes a part of it. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Mecca, he didn't destroy the city. He didn't kill all of its inhabitants. He took the good from it, and he built upon those, and he slowly started removing the bad characteristics. This is what we need to do as Muslims. This is what we need to learn. That we need to learn to take that good, to build ourselves and to make ourselves better, and to leave the bad so that we can set a good example on, like, man, this is what happens when you do the right thing. This is what happens when you're principled. This is what happens when you follow Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to have mercy on all of those who have passed. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to give shifa, to give healing to all of those who are ill. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to help those who are in any type of financial hardship out of that hardship. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to help those who are in debt out of that debt. I ask Him Allah Azza wa Jal to gather us up in His paradise. Just a couple of quick reminders, inshallah. So construction, inshallah, will begin on July 15th. We will be remodeling many of the spaces in the masjid. Inshallah, next week we're going to share some of those remodeling schematics, inshallah, on what we're doing and how we're moving forward. But there will be some shifts in the prayer times. There will be some shifts in the prayer spaces. There's going to be a time where the bathrooms are not available either. But inshallah, we'll keep everyone updated. Just wanted to put it in everybody's calendar from July 15th onward. There will be construction, and construction will take some time, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Wa aqimus salah.